Ascension messages. Questions and answers, clones, 3D matrix, artificial soul connection and DNA.
Question. I have watched numerous YouTube videos talking about AI, clones and the satanic rituals, etc. I would really like to understand more about the clones and where they fit into our society.
Answer. Yes, clones have become a huge problem, widespread, and a silent invasion upon this planet. Clones can be manufactured being exactly the same as the original, or can be modified according to their needs. This means that the apparent age of the clone can be achieved without any difficulty. Clones are not perfect and are plagued with problems. When they are manufactured, they take some time to be formed, and they can also vary in complexity depending on the model and its technical sophistication. They can also make an artificial person and not represent any real person, and be only the creation made to the manufacturer's specification according to their purpose and task that they will perform. These clones, whether they are politicians, high-level people or CEOs of large companies, they can be used to do cumbersome or awkward tasks, such as attending rallies, appearing in public presentations. Some are used to carry out murders or suicide missions and situations like coups, and in many cases the clones have to endure all sorts of harassments at the hands of those who oppose them, while the original has had the opportunity to flee. These clones are used in shootings in shopping malls, schools and public places. The intention here is to create a problem engineered into the minds of the population: fear. The next statement may be uncomfortable for many. They make clones of children and babies on a large scale to be used in horrendous satanic rituals to their archon gods. Hollywood celebrities, both men and women, are cloned and sold to the elite as sex slaves. These clones vary widely in price according to their perfection and the length of time for their usefulness. Many of these cloned celebrities are used as sex toys to the elite. In the case of clones based on real people, they retain part of the personality of the original person. However, extra programming is added to make them more compliant. These clones tend to have serious neurological problems. This happens especially in the cheaper clones that were not given adequate time in their formation. Some of these cheaper clones are used in suicide missions. All of the clones come from the same technology. What increases the price is the time spent occupying a medical container. The stable and more expensive clones have a lifetime equivalent to the life expectancy of the original person, especially with the apparent age and specifications of the clone when it was formed. Some of the most expensive clones will cost in excess of $500,000 US, while the cheaper versions are around $25,000 US. The public remain completely ignorant of this situation, and remain under mental control from the media and conventional medical science, that make them believe that although there has been some progress in cloning over the years, it has not advanced beyond these early stages. In the case of clones which are genetically almost identical to the original ones, they are under the control of the Central Artificial Intelligence, AI. They still retain some connection to the source or signal received by the original individual. The strength of this signal varies and can be designed and controlled by the central AI. This is how the original version of the clone can be blackmailed against its will to carry out activities it would normally not choose to do. If the original person does not obey the cabal and resists them, the cabal will use the clone, increasing the connection to source as much as possible, creating a remote torture situation that the original person will perceive and suffer greatly. In other words, the clone is tortured instead of the original. This is achieved once again, using the wave principle in destructive and constructive frequencies. The problem of clones in our current times within human society is very large and extensive, and is reaching a level of invasion. These clones are also part of the so-called unreal people of the 3D matrix, and are in addition to the unreal humans made entirely from the 3D lunar matrix. Initially, clones were used only to replace high-level Illuminati leaders, then to replace heads of state and politicians as their doubles. It then leaked to celebrities and high-level entrepreneurs, especially linked to large transnational companies and CEOs of large banks. The technology of cloning has been perfected and become more accessible within the framework of control by the cabal. This information hardly reaches the population. These clones are progressively leaking to the entire human society little by little, a silent invasion. Today any person can be abducted by the cabal, either by traditional kidnapping or by high-tech military technology, especially if this person is of interest to them for whatever reason, particularly if they are very influential to the masses. Here they will be cloned and then subsequently be replaced by their clone. Usually it is only the people that are very close to these clones that will realize something is strange, not quite right. People who are not really close will be unaware that they are interacting with a clone. This problem has already infiltrated all levels of society throughout the world. These clones obey very dark agendas of invasion of artificial intelligence with a purpose of total planetary assimilation. As stated before, this super-invasive AI is not of terrestrial origin and acts independently, and has already achieved the independence ability to be self-conscious and lacks all empathy, and is only interested in absolute power and control over all. Here we share again, that it is for this reason it is important to keep your frequency as high as possible, and not be concordant with these negative events, keeping them away from your life experiences. We have shared at a basic level how matter manifests itself into DNA through the intervention of a consciousness, on the etheric side, that with its attention/intention, or its energetic shadow generates standing waves in mathematical geometric forms in a soup of potential energy. On the physical side, where there are high points or nodes where the first most basic particles are formed, and then if there is enough attention, other more complex structures are formed until generating first organic substances that will create DNA chains, always obeying the original patterns. This is zero-point energy in reverse, or what we will call the mechanics of manifestation.
Question. So can those with false Atmas generate creative energies like those with real Atmas? Can they awaken? Sorry, I can't remember. I think you have previously said that they maybe could awaken. If they can't awaken, then can they generate through fear/negativity en masse to create destructive timelines? What I'm getting at is that if the large majority of the world's population has false Atma, as you have previously mentioned, and if they have equally full creative energies as those with real Atmas, and those with false Atmas can't awaken, or it is more difficult for them because they are not connected with Source, and hence more easily programmed/manipulated by dark forces, then isn't the scale already tipped significantly in favor of destructive timelines? If so, even if some of us awaken, wouldn't we still experience those timelines, but perhaps be in a comparatively more fortunate circumstance? For example, experience the White Island exploding volcano, but we're on the boat offshore instead of the volcano itself.
Answer. Let us first deal with the lunar-generated 3D humans, that are constructed with artificially DNA frequency energetic patterns, animated by an artificially generated Atma that we have spoken of before, and this principle follows the mechanics of manifestation. These artificial humans are a program. This may be difficult for a 3D logical limited mind to comprehend, especially if programmed with conventional scientific and medical limited conditioning. As previously stated, this conditioning limits further exploration and understanding, by convincing the ego that unless an understanding can be explained with a tool that the ego describes as rational logical thinking, which sets up a self-limiting loop of mental gymnastics. For example, which came first, the chicken or the egg? As shared earlier, the human brain is perfectly adapted/created to allow a soul to downstep their frequency into the dense soup of destructive and discordant frequencies, allowing the illusion of separation from Source, all that is, and through contrast, experience separation for the growth of that soul. The human 3D mind is not equipped to hold high conceptual or expanded awareness concepts that allow this mind to integrate these concepts in a reality density whose frequency is a match for these concepts. In other words, the human 3D minds are opposing each other in a permanent state of conflict. One of the human brains, left hemisphere, the ego, logical rational mind, thinks this is who you are. In actuality it is the non-authentic self. The ego is the gatekeeper of your fear, and it attempts to maintain the status quo of what you can or cannot accept to maintain the separation of your mind from the trapped emotional experiences locked into your energetic matrix, that it thinks you cannot deal with. In other words, the ego's job is to protect you from your fear. The stronger the ego, the stronger the fear. This combination keeps the soul in limitation and conflict. The other compartment of the human mind, right hemisphere, connects with your soul through your DNA, and is accessed through your heart. The ego is the gatekeeper preventing harmonization of the two minds into one. In 5D there is one brain, one mind. We have spoken of this before. Throughout these messages we have shared over and over again the simple tools of integration. Recognize, validate, feel, choose again, imagine. The ego will convince you that this is not necessary, or even simply reject the simplicity of this process, and convince you that if you apply enough logic and reasoning based upon what you have experienced so far in this life, you will come to your own conclusions that will hopefully deliver you to your thought destination. However, it will not. Many have tried this journey. We will call this the path of the will. The ego thinks it is in charge. The ego is very, very clever, very, very slippery, and it will deceive you. It has no rules when it comes to deception. It will edit and blank experiences and information that are standing right in front of you. We have before described the ego. Imagine every fear that you have ever had in this lifetime or another, place all these fears together into a personality, even give it a name. This is the ego. It is the non-authentic self. Returning to the path of the will. The souls with a very strong ego believe they have a very strong mind, and with incredible self-discipline they will attempt to control their mind, change their thoughts, change their beliefs. However, this is still the ego in charge. Somewhere on this journey, when there are no more shadows to hide within, when you and the ego have arrived at an impasse, your more authentic self will step in and show you that all you need to do is to surrender up your fears. The other path we speak of is the path of surrender. There is nothing new in this lifetime for you to learn, as this lifetime is all about remembering what you have already experienced in other lifetimes, and in this life. The ego does not know you have nothing to learn. That is why it desperately at all costs will be the gatekeeper of your fears. With the path of surrender, you know this truth. What you are in surrender of are these fears, and the tools for transformation is integration. They are simple: recognize, validate, feel, choose again, imagine. The path of surrender is achieved when you can trust in yourself, stand in your naked vulnerability and confront your fears. The path of the will is controlled by the ego. The ego will take the last breath out of your biological body in defense of these fears. Returning to the grand deception that the regressives have unleashed upon humanity. 4 out of 5 humans are unreal. They are a lunar 3D matrix computer program that are emitting these frequencies, that create artificial biology animated with artificial ADMA, and if this lunar matrix computer program were to be switched off, most of these unreal humans would disappear from your reality. To understand this from a more expanded awareness, in your reality there is only you as a conscious focus awareness, animated in a biological form. Everything else, you have constructed to make this experience seem real. However, it is all an illusion, and the only thing that is real is your soul observing you. When you place more focus, attention, awareness on something, you animate it. Here on Earth at these times, on a collective timeline agreement, you animate the same or very similar constructs. As previously stated, these agreements are not made face-to-face or on a document, rather they are an agreement of how you are going to collectively perceive the 3D reality you call Earth. The unreal humans that play a part in your personal reality, you have energized their presence simply by the attention that you have given them. If there is no attention on an event, experience or person, then you simply do not animate them, so they are not part of your reality. When you walk in a city, you will see other humans. They may walk right in front of you, they may be walking in the opposite direction on the other side of the road. They come into your reality and moments later they leave your reality. You may never see them again. They are only there to fill in the gaps of your reality perception. A city during the day is full of people, so people you will see. They may be real, they may be unreal. However, if you put more focus on any one of them, then you are making them more real to you, so they will play a larger part in your reality construct. For example, they could be the checkout assistant you see every week in your supermarket. You may talk to them, ask how they are. The more attention that you give them, the larger the part they play in your reality construct. If you followed them to their home, they may have a spouse and children. However, 4 out of 5 of these humans will be unreal, a computer program. And as discussed earlier, they will all think and act their life in a very similar way, the hive mind. You could argue with them and their reaction would be the hive mind. They may ask you, what's your problem? If you kept pushing your point, you could push them and they would feel real. You could punch them on the nose and they would bleed. They are almost indistinguishable from a real human. They have emotions and fears. Their children could be real or / unreal. It is not important to work out who is real and who is unreal. They are only there because of your conscious intention, focus, awareness. Honor and respect all humans, real or unreal. Yes, souls entering this dense soup of low vibrational frequency can choose unreal artificial biological parents that have an artificial Atma. This should not be surprising, as the same mechanism is how the human race was initially constructed, through frequency modulation, as earlier described, that we have called the mechanics of manifestation. From this narrative as the reader, you will soon be able to jump to the conclusion of how well the regressive deception has worked. When 4 out of 5 humans are a computer program and act in unison with each other, this has created a dominant frequency timeline that keeps all of humanity onto destructive timelines. When star seeds are asleep, their frequency becomes that of the dominant frequency. We have spoken of this before, where the stronger dominant frequencies overwrite less dominant frequencies. We have shared over and over again that thoughts create. The hive mind of the unreal humans is just a computer program. It is not conscious thought, it is merely a program. However, it has become the dominant frequency, because the sleeping star seeds support this construct. This is the great trap that the regressives have masterfully created. The star seeds that are asleep by default are unaware of the mechanics of manifestation that allow them to create anything with their mind. This is the greatest fear the regressives have, that the star seeds will awake, and in doing so, they will change the game. This is why we share with you tirelessly the tools of transformation and empowerment. The first 4, recognize, validate, feel, choose again, are the tools for integration, integrating your fear by simply accepting them. The last powerful tool, imagination, whatever you hold in your mind you will make manifest. That is why we share with you, hold the highest idea of who you are, and hold the highest idea of the new earth that you reside upon. If you succumb to the hive mind and hold fear of your own personal security and fear around the earth that you live upon, then you energize these destructive timelines. However, what we have shared over and over again, that thoughts create, so we can create the timelines of our choice. Nothing is set in stone. The unreal humans are just a programmed hive mind that is there to deceive your true authenticity. This is exactly what the ego is doing. The unreal human's effect on humanity is the same as the ego's effect in your awareness. This is why we are here, to wake you up. The unreal humans do not have creative imagination and power, quite the opposite. They are literally a pre-written program, and when switched off will disappear from your reality. To answer another part of your inquiry, when the lunar matrix is switched off, some of the more animated unreal humans will continue on the present destructive timeline, and somewhere along that timeline, through the lack of animation from your focus, attention, awareness will eventually decompose, as they are no longer a focus of your attention, then return back into the ether as pure potential energy. Remember, all of physicality is an illusion. However, with conscious focused intention, it is animated and seems real. When this focus is removed, the biology disintegrates and returns back to its previous natural etheric state of potential energy. This is why some historical buildings have been around for hundreds, thousands, and in some cases, tens of thousands of years, because they have become the focused attention awareness of humanity that maintains their physicality. We would like to remind you of how powerful you are. With enough focused conscious attention onto our artificial human, animated with an artificial Atma, connection to source, you can actually create a spark of connection with the Creator for that artificial human, giving them immortality and a soul. This is how powerful you are. This is what the regressives do not want you to know. Through the mechanics of manifestation, the asleep star seeds are the ones that are actually holding the low-frequency 3D matrix in place. It is not the artificial humans that are holding the 3D lunar matrix in place, as they are the lunar matrix. They are the program that is influencing the asleep star seeds with the dominant frequency. that is overwriting the star seed's consciousness.
So, the sooner we all wake up, the sooner we change the game.
Tawana, Tawa, adventure with joy, with all its multiple meanings.